Ascendant Scorpio rising. Hope you all are doing well. Welcome to Allastrology. This is your May 2020 full moon frequency update. So we have actually quite a bit of information here because we're not going to talk just about your full moon. We are going to be talking about Saturn. We're going to be talking about Jupiter. We're going to be talking about Venus. And please don't let me forget to talk about the Mercury squaring Neptune, which we will have in full force on the day of the full moon. I also have a special announcement. Guys, it'll be at the end of the video. It's a special offer. It costs you nothing. So make sure you stick around for that one. I also want to talk a little bit about the nodes. The nodes are moving on the full moon. We have the North Node and the South Node making their official last call through Cancer and Capricorn signs. Now remember, the moon's nodes represent where we're headed, what we're leaving behind. We're going forward with the North Node and we're walking away from the South Node. The South Node is what we've already mastered. It's what we've already perfected. The South Node is something we have already outgrown and we have nothing left to learn. So we're saying, you know what? I'm done. Thank you. You were awesome. But I'm going this way. And that's the North Node. Okay? So the North Node is at 2946 on this full moon. All right, I'm going to give you dates, I'm going to give you degrees, and I'm going to try to give you an overall energetic look at the frequency grid for you, Scorpio ascendant, Scorpio rising. As always, let's go ahead and take a deep dive into your Allastrology. All right, Scorpios, let's find out what's going on where in your life so that we can better understand what to be prepared for and what we are releasing. We're actually walking away from a few things, okay? The full moon is on May 7th. I've got the chart here, and it's at 1720 in your sign. The moon will be at 1720 in Scorpio energy. So this is on your ascendant. Now, this is either in your first house or on your ascendant. But check out the degrees because your 1720 could be in your 12th house, depending upon what the numbers of your rising sign are. All right, remember, ascendant and rising sign are the same thing because there's a lot of retrogrades this month. This is a month full of retrogrades, right? We've got Saturn and we've got Venus and we've got Jupiter all going retrograde, okay? But for the full moon energy, we're going to have, okay, let's think about the full moon, all right? A full moon is when the moon is at one end and the sun is at the exact opposite end, right? So we've got the full moon in Scorpio, you, at 1720, which means the sun is at 1720 in Taurus energy, okay? So the 1720 Taurus is likely in your 7th house, but there could be some of this in your 6th. You would know. If you don't know, is comment your birth digits below. I can help you figure that out, all right? I do get to your stuff and I take a look at it. I don't just give you a quick answer. I literally pull up your chart and I look at all the energy. So we're talking about your 1st and your 7th house. This is me, who I appear to be, right? The cover of the book, my outward appearance to the world, what I project to the world, and then my 7th house is my significant one-on-one relationships, okay? Pluto rules Scorpio, all right? Pluto is powerful. Pluto represents change, but deep change, okay? Pluto is also the fear factor, all right? Pluto may bring up fears because the moon, okay, the moon is all about emotions, all right? And fear is a powerful emotion. But Scorpio energy is deep hidden emotions, all right? Things, especially if you have a lot of this in your 12th. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you have exactly 17. Let's say you have 17 degrees on your ascendant, okay? Well, if you have 17 degrees on your ascendant, that means that there's 17 degrees of Scorpio energy in your 12th house, right? It could possibly, and if there's a lot of stuff in that 12th house, that means it's really hidden. First of all, Scorpio energy is stuff that we purposefully hide. It's stuff we're aware of. It's our deep emotions that we're not real proud of. You know, what does that mean? Well, say somebody is aware that they're extremely possessive, right? But they don't want anybody to know that, right? Because they feel like, oh my God, I'm insanely possessive. I'm insanely jealous, right? Most people don't talk about that like, oh, well, I'm this, right? Those are little attributes, things where people aren't real proud of. And so they tend to hide them. But what about the fear factor, right? There can be this aspect about fear in your life that you don't want other people to know, right? You could be honest with it. You could have embraced it by now and said, hey, you know what? I recognize I'm really scared when it comes to this. You know, I have this illogical, irrational fear about this, whatever that may be. But not everybody is brave enough to do that. Some people hide those things, especially in Scorpio energy, because Scorpio is deep. All right, it goes down to the soul level. It taps in with things that are from other lifetimes. Okay, it taps in with your soul's goals. And this is a big deal during this full moon because this is considered a really, really spiritual full moon in the you know, like in the Metaphysicians and the Esotericists world. The first full moon in the month of May, by their standards, is considered really powerful because of the fact that Scorpio is a powerful sign and you've got the moon there, and the moon is emotions, okay? And then you've got the sun in Taurus. Taurus is all about my desires, and the sun is there empowering it. And so when you want to manifest something, when you want to do something, it's your emotions, right? Remember, emotions are energy, okay? It's like gasoline that you need for the car. That's what emotions are. Okay, and with a light in Taurus, you can pinpoint and focus and become that laser beam, and you can attract to you. You can say, this is what I'm going to do, and it will happen. Now, the story goes that Buddha, the teaching, this is called like a Wesak full moon, Buddha taught that it was our attachments that gave us pain. It was being attached to either physical objects or people or things, whatever these desires were, but it was those overly attachments that actually literally ended up creating chains in our lives. Okay, we became enslaved because of our desires. All right, yes, this is extreme, but on some level, because we all have Scorpio somewhere in our chart, we all have Taurus energy somewhere in our chart, we all have Pisces energy in our chart. These are all things that have a high ability for addiction. We all have something that we desire. All right, well, what happens when you have to have something all the time, right? Think about that. That's the ball and chain that you're carrying around. You've got this chain on your leg and it's carrying that. You take it with you everywhere you go. Okay. Now, right, you can go a lot of different ways with this. His thinking, because he grew up in this really rich family, right? They were very well off. And as he aged, he realized that he had everything in the world he could ever want. And so he came to this idea that it was our attachment to things, but not just things. He said it was our attachment to anything that we were overly attached to that we became prisoners of. Okay? So this full moon is a time when Buddha literally radiates his frequencies, his energies to anybody who is receptive, to anybody who was open, anybody who was ready, who can raise their own vibrations to elevate up to his level, right? He literally lowers his frequencies to touch humanity, to help humanity, right? It's a beautiful thought, right? It's an extremely beautiful visual of this grand master coming down and sharing their frequencies and literally emanating beautiful rays of just a higher knowledge, elevating our frequencies, where our awareness is expanded, right? Where we somehow become more open, more receptive to what could be, right? Go outside of our little minds. So understanding that if we can detach from something that we are overly attached to, we will then receive liberation. We'll experience freedom. And so that is the ceremony. That is the whole point of the Wesak full moon. Scorpio, Ascendant Scorpio rising, you're trying to figure out what is that, okay? So let's get to the meat of your reading, which is, this is your first house where the moon's going to be. And this is emotions, okay? Now, your seventh house is where your Taurus energy is. And so that's where the sun light's going to be. And it is the desire that's connected to that. The desire, the attachment to significant one-on-one relationships. And I'm not saying we're letting one-on-one relationships go, but is there an overly attached thing, right? I mean, in some way, yes, we all depend and rely upon each other, right, to live. But is there something there's an over-attachment, an over-identifying? Is there a thing in your relationships where you kind of just disappear and you don't really exist, but you live for the other person? Now, is that what you're releasing? Is that what you're letting go? Well, this is a deep dive into a look of who you are on a cellular level. Cellular level. SOUL-U-L-A-R. Cellular level. Because Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. And so when we have to go deep, right, we're talking about our soul and we're diving into our fears, all right? That which we hold on to. It's time to say, you know what? That thing I've been holding on to, right, since I was a little itty bitty and maybe other lifetimes, it's time to release it. It's time to let it go. So for this full moon, it is all about what you're ready to release. All right? That's in your first house. It's a belief, it's a thinking, it's a fear, it's about yourself. It is something that you've become dependent upon, something you've become overly attached to, something that you keep hidden. Only you know what that is. So this is work for you to do. But at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to be doing for the full moon, and it can help you out. And if you want to be involved, just keep listening out. Now let's talk about some of the other things that are going to be happening on this full moon, all right? I take a look at the chart here. We're going to have Neptune at 20 degrees, and we're going to have, okay, Neptune at 20 degrees in Pisces, and squaring it is Venus. I wanted to say Mercury, but it's Venus in Gemini at 21 degrees. And so that is a square with our thinking. That is a square with mercurial energy, because Venus in Gemini energy, Venus in Gemini is I love to talk, I love to communicate, I love to think. Venus is what I love, what I desire, how I show my love, how I receive, the giving and the receiving, right? Venus likes gifts. Venus also likes money, so you might be thinking about money at this time. You might already be thinking about money, because I'm noticing as the nodes get closer to that 0 degrees, yeah, I'm seeing a change in some of the things that I'm doing. I'm becoming more focused and more orientated about in more original, unique ways of being more diverse. Not just in the communicating, but in bartering and trading, in understanding my value, because that's what Gemini energy is. Gemini is all about, you know, hands-on, you know, fingers, hands, creating, being very crafty, trades, right? Like, you know, careers, professions that are in the trades, plumbing. My goddaughter, like, she's a welder now, right? Like, these are all trades, you know, like carpenters, like trades. And so this falls into that category, but it doesn't even have to be on that high level of a professional scale, right? It doesn't have to be with tools that you have to spend a lot of money on. What we see happening is Gemini energy, and I'm going to kind of go in depth with this because this is the nodes going there as well. On this full moon, the node is at 2946, which means it's at a critical point. It's trying to leave the Cancer energy, which is home and my emotions and family, and it's dipping into Gemini, which is, okay, this is all about my community, my immediate community, you know, my next door neighbor, the people that my peers in the home where I live, my siblings. This is also about, you know, people who you go to school with. This is the house of your community in terms of where you live, your town, right? It's short distance journeys. That's where the North Node's going, which means all those things are going to be very big for the year of 2021, for the rest of 2020 and 2021. We've got Gemini energy highlighted, all right? So when we think about this, Gemini energy is also, it's, you know, talking and speaking and thinking. So it's sales, right? It's the internet, social media, right? And having Venus at 21 degrees Gemini energy and having Neptune at 20 degrees Pisces energy. Remember what Neptune and Pisces is all about. It throws on the rose-colored glasses, right? And it has the ability to have the fog roll in or the murky waters and you can't see clearly. I would be very cautious at this time with internet purchases. This is not a long square, by the way. This is pretty quick. Venus doesn't sit forever there at this point. It'll move along. And it's only going to be when it's extremely tight with Neptune. So, you know, a couple days. Well, actually, let me be more specific for you guys. So May 4th to May 7th, May 8th. Be careful with internet purchases, all right? Only go to sites that you know you've done business with before, because when you have Neptune squaring Venus in Gemini, all right? Gemini energy is sharp, very quick-witted, a very fast learner. And for some folks, this is a way to make some quick money. Think about that. This does not mean everyone is a scammer. What it does mean is there may be a heightened activity for scammers at this time because the energy is beneficial for them. It's just the way it is. So you just want to be aware of that on social media, right? On the internet, any kind of work you're doing. Just be aware also of truth. Truth versus information, clouded, convoluted, and it might not be intentional. It might not be an intentional liar, but we have to remember about the Gemini energy, and when it's being squared by Neptune, it kind of gives it this not so, to reach the really high elevation of it, it's an energy where someone is communicating for the good for all involved. It's very altruistic, where someone is literally sacrificing their time and their ability to communicate for their greater good of the group, of humanity, and sacrificing, because that's a Piscean energy, right? And on a high level, it's very, very ideal. So when we talk about very ideal, it's almost too good to be true. So keep that in mind, okay? And this would also be because we have retrograde energies happening later in the month. Venus will be retrograding. So this is a good time to pull this in. Venus will literally start her retrograde on, I want to say the 13th. Yeah, on the 13th, Venus begins her retrograde. So what does that mean? It means that Venus retrograding will literally, it could bring back, because it's love. So it could bring back people who you used to be with. They just kind of all of a sudden, they show up, whether it's on the internet, or you get a phone call, you get a text message. Holy crap, guess who I heard from, right? This could be that. When Venus goes backwards, it's revisiting old loves, okay? Or revisiting things that you valued. Reevaluating old loves, reevaluating things that you love. This is the theme for 2019 and 2020, right? It's really the theme. The planet Venus in Gemini for like 8 months this year. Unheard of. Totally rare. Now, this is going to happen. This is your 8th house. This is interesting. This is your 8th house. Holy shit. All right. She starts retrograding and she goes back to 5 degrees. So you want to see where 21, 22 degrees Gemini and 5 degrees of Gemini is. That is the retrograde zone of Venus. Okay, see if that's in your 8th or see if it's in your 7th house. All right, if you don't know, comment your digits below and I'll help you out. 8th house is your deeply bonded, intimate relationships. Some say it's the house of sex. Okay, it's the house of shared energy. We're very bonded in our 8th house. And we bond because you've got Gemini there. You bond by your communicating. You bond by the way you talk to somebody. You bond deeply with your siblings. Oh my God, that's the 8th house. Deep bonding with siblings, definitely. But neighbors, your peers, you connect in with people in a really deep way. But you do it through how you talk, how you communicate, okay? This is going to be a big deal. And so you're reevaluating that, okay? But recognize, because it's 8th house, you may be prone to hear from somebody who, might try slipping in the back door, so to speak, in a way, and kind of like, hey, what are you up to, right? Especially if you're single. Might be someone like, hey, right? So just keep all this kind of in your mind. The next thing that we're going to touch on is the next retrograde, which is Jupiter. So for Jupiter retrograde, this is Capricorn. All right, I'll just pull in Jupiter and Pluto together because Pluto already started its retrograde. All right, Pluto was at 25 degrees retrograding. It goes back to 22. And then Jupiter begins its retrograde at 27 degrees and goes all the way back to 17 degrees Capricorn. So find out where these degrees are in your chart, okay? Typically, Scorpio Ascendant, Scorpio Rising, it's your 3rd house. However, Jupiter goes back pretty far. It goes all the way back to 17. There might be some of that Capricorn 17 in your 3rd or in your 2nd house. You might have some of this in your 4th house. It just depends. If you don't know and if you need clarity, comment below, okay? What is it going to mean? All right. So the 3rd house is how you talk, how you think, how you communicate. That's what it means. So this is 3rd house energy. 3rd house is my immediate environment, my immediate community. Think Gemini energy. This is your 3rd house. But it's your structured ways of communicating. It's your structured ways of relating. Because Capricorn energy structures and organizes things. It likes to be the best at something. So it's very important all right? It strives to be on top. It strives to be like the king of the hill. And you'd want to be careful. And this retrograding is going to allow you to reevaluate the ways in which you communicate. And don't forget, the third house is how you think. This is important, okay? Because it's going to be a reevaluation of how you think. Jupiter going backwards there, and Pluto. Pluto will be all about understanding how much fear you really have in your thoughts, because it's Pluto, and that's what Pluto is. You know, Pluto's not just the fear, but through you recognizing it and putting a light on it, you're going to be able to do some healing. Okay, we have the nodes moving and we have some help with this. Remember, the north node's going into Gemini, and this is your third house energy. All right, I'm talking like energies. If I lost you there, just comment below and I'll clarify. You have Gemini in your 8th house, okay? So, right, there's a lot of common things happening right now. It's what I love, and it's my thinking and my communication. It's all connected, all right? But it's your place in all of that. How you value yourself, how you value yourself based on how you think, how you value yourself based on how you communicate, okay? Think about that, all right? There might be some clues as to help you to find out and to zero in on what you want to release, what you've already done, what you're done with, what you've outgrown, okay? So for the full moon ceremony, handing an invitation out to each and every subscriber. If you want to be involved in the full moon ceremony, this will be a ceremony that I will be performing, okay? I create prayer ties. I prepare days in advance for the ceremony. I literally create your prayer tie. You comment your, just comment your name and a one word that you want to release. Okay, because what I will do is I will create the prayer tie. Your name will be on it. The word that you want to release will be on it. I will speak into it. I will offer it up to Creator. We offer tobacco with the prayer tie. We put it in the sacred fire, and we hold ceremony. We call in the higher frequencies of the archangels, and it's quite beautiful. So if you want to be involved in this, understanding that you're finding this one thing that you know you're having a difficult time releasing, that you want to release, and I will assist you with that. That is the whole point of this offering, is for me to somehow incorporate you guys into the ceremony and your energy as a group, even though we all can't literally get together. So Scorpio Ascendant, Scorpio Rising. If you have any other questions, if there's anything that I touched on that it wasn't clear, don't be afraid to comment below with your questions and let me know how you're doing and how you're surviving, and I will be sure to get right back to you. I hope this has put some light upon your path. Stay safe. Bye.